This is Pokalainu. You are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. Today is the 6th day of October in the year 2012, and the time now is 33 or 34 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. We have a half hour more on this program, so if you would like to call and share an opinion, our telephone lines are open. Telephone number here is 524-1080. We'll put you on the radio and see what you have to say about some of the matters that we have been talking about. When I started out the last half hour, I was going to engage in the presidential debate or discussion of that debate and maybe even meander into the Caldwell and Cayetano debates, but we've exhausted an hour and a half without getting into that matter, and maybe you are exhausted in the discussions there, and so have not really gotten into that issue. I want to say also that because of the last call with regards to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, the race within the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and the candidacy and the rest, if there are any candidates who would like to call and share their views of why they should be supported or even why they should not be supported, if you would like to call this number, and we'll put you on the radio and give you an opportunity to share your opinions. I know oftentimes that race being a statewide race, it's very difficult to get a statewide audience or to get an audience broad enough that will impact the outcome of the race because it is such a statewide race, and yet it is given such low, review. The only other statewide race is the Senate race and the governor's race. Nothing else come to my mind at the present time. And yet, it's very expensive, and many of our people who are running as candidates do not have the kala or the wealth, the monies, the dollars to engage in that kind of discussion. So if you would like to call and share your opinions, you're welcome to call. Of course, I reserve the right to at least ask you questions and maybe discuss some of these issues, okay? Telephone number is 524-1080, and we'll give you that opportunity to call. I don't want other people to hesitate from calling because you are believing that the invitation is only extended at this point to candidates for public office. So others who would like to share an opinion on some of these matters, please call as well. Let's go to our next caller. The telephone number here is 524-1080. Aloha caller. Oops, that caller just hung up, I guess. So if you would like to call, give me a call, and we'll put you on the radio. I am Pokalainui. We are produced by the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. The opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of this radio station or of the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. Okay, now we had been talking about some of the candidates. I did mention the name of Walter Ritty, and I have known him personally, as well as Haunani Apoliona. I've known and worked briefly with Haunani when we were involved in Hui Na'auau, an organization that was dedicated to the education of the Hawaiian people with regards to Hawaiian sovereignty, the history that we have had, and the rest. And she was very active in that organization. I was active as well and had gotten to know her at that time. I had not spent any time within the Office of Hawaiian Affairs working with Haunani. I have been an applicant for grants through that office, and so in that way have come before the board for several question and answer sessions and that kind of stuff. But actually working with her, that was not the experience I have had. With regards to Walter Ritty, I had served with him for, was it 2 or 3 years, as a trustee alongside Walter, and have gotten to know him quite well, and have developed a high regard for Walter Riddy and the positions that he would take and how he reached these positions, always very grassroots oriented. And one thing that Walter had said that has impressed me, and I've carried this words that he had shared with me for a long time. And he would say, when I take a position on an issue, I always follow my gut. I follow my na'au. And so that is where my general predisposition is. After that, I try to reason out why it makes sense to follow my gut or to do what my gut is telling me. But generally, that's how I make a decision. And I felt that he was not only very honest, but very perceptive in that most people will follow their gut and then try to justify it by their rationality. So that when they are addressing the media or when they are addressing an audience, they will try to rationalize how they come to this conclusion. But in essence, many of these public decision makers will follow their gut as an initial response. And of course it can change if reason or some other appeal is made to them, so they will change their position. So I remember Walter saying that. And second thing he would say is, look, in essence, I'm a warrior. I come from this clan of people who have been protesters, so that is the perception that I take. Of course, I cannot stay in that position, and I have to take a look at policies and all that stuff. But my heartbeat is as a warrior. And again, a very honest statement. Now, I'm not suggesting that Haunani is any less, that's Haunani Apoliona, is any less a warrior or any less proceeding in a different manner. It's just that I have had more exposure with Walter in terms of his service with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Okay, with that, let's go to our telephone lines. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Oh, Poka.
Yes, go ahead.
This Wednesday, I was at the city council for the awards, and Paulette was there, Klekini, my cousin's wife. I talked to you before.
Yes.
She got the award, and she had her whole entourage, ladies, and they did a chant with the horn. And I didn't know that Breen and Stanley Chang didn't sign the award. Sheesh. It's amazing, even though he should show respect, but, at least sign the thing, I got to go talk to her and I say, what happened,
Yeah, I think it's obvious what happened.
If you have a conflict with Mr. Berg or whatever, or with Paulette, just do the good thing and just sign it. Take home on the money, it's just like that, kind of upset, but talking about the debate, it was very good to watch Mr. Ben and Mr. Kirk Caldwell on Wednesday, so I learned a lot, so I'll see how it goes.
And did it change your position, whatever your position had been? And I assume that the basic issue was rail and transportation. Did it change you in any way from where you had been before the debate as opposed to after the debate?
Really, when Kirk said at the end of his closing remarks, 21st century, we're going into the 21st century with this rail, I said, sheesh, steel on steel has been around for a long time. It's not 21st century technology. I'm looking at the Thelius way of magnetic, where you just have the magnets. And That's more 21st century than this steel on steel. I rode Amtrak. You ever rode Amtrak?
No, I did. No, I may have. Actually, I rode rail in Europe, not in America.
How was it?
It was very comfortable.
Yeah.
And I thought it was better than plane because, there's so many stops and you didn't have to go to the airport and go through all of that. But still, you had to go to the train station itself.
Yeah, I had to. Yeah. I went from Oakland, California to LA. It took me 11.5 hours. And we had to stop at every other station, actually. And I was in the caboose, and I was way in the back, and I had to sit on that chair for how many hours?
Yeah.
I went to Europe. It took me 11.5 hours, but I think the train was much more worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for different purposes, rail is good. And let's not forget, Hawaii had rail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that. I used to see them come down with the pineapple. And
oh, is that right?
Yeah, the olden days, yeah.
Hey, you must be far older than me then, man.
No, I was just a small little boy.
Oh, okay, all right.
Throw the pineapple to me. Okay, folks, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, take care. Aloha. All right, and I must confess, I didn't see the debate itself with Caldwell and with Cayetano. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. We're taking your telephone calls. Let's go to the next caller. Aloha caller, welcome.
Yeah, Poka.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So a bit more about what I heard last night. They were also discussing races at the Congress, the House and the Senate races.
Mm-hmm.
They for Hanabusa, they say find her to be accessible, cooperative, and very helpful on that she cares on the matters of importance to our Lahui. What do you think? Would you agree with that?
Hanabusa is running against Diju.
Yeah.
And for me, the question is larger than Hanabusa and Diju. The national question is really what is in play as far as I'm concerned. Diju, I think he has some good positions. I don't support all of his positions. I don't support his republicanism. And so I would not support him anyway. No. Hanabusa, I haven't seen enough of the national program. However, from what I have seen, I like the fact that she would not support, I understand, maybe I am mistaken, that she would not have supported the wars. And so she's more of a Hawaii kind of Democrat, more in line with what Mazie has reflected. And she did not support the war in the first place and would not have gone in that direction. So for that reason, I would support Hanabusa rather than Diju. Yeah. But Diju has a good position on rail.
Right.
And I would not support Hanabusa on that particular issue.
Yeah. Right. Too bad they can't see through it, huh? I think it really is true. The project is more than. Well, in fact, it's not primarily for transportation. It's for, distribution, of shillings, to landowners, developers, unions,
There's a lot of money.
Contractors and banks.
Yeah, a lot of money getting pulled
Millions,
out.
Spread around,
Yeah.
And
but I don't think we can necessarily conclude that Cayetano is not going to be spreading a lot of that millions under his system as well. I think there hasn't been enough investigation there.
Well, his system, I heard it explained by Bonos.
Yeah.
And it has the funding, and the design is not something that is unproven. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal from September 27, calling it the something of the future, and it gives you an idea of a similar, or the concept anyway, the essential concept and how it already works elsewhere. So this is not something, hey, let's give this a try.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this thing has already been field tested. And, but see, the paper and car rules in the legislature, they choose to just, it's half-baked, without even doing due diligence into it and examining it.
Yeah. And that kind of response, a knee-jerk response, really reflects more on the critic, that they are responding merely as a political matter rather than as a considerate matter. Because if you really consider the proposal and then came out with that response, I can appreciate that. But give me some statistics. Instead, you're only acting as a crybaby in this kind of childish game that is now called politics. And for that, I cannot respect. Very similar to the response by Romney with regards to the report on employment levels and how it has decreased. So immediately to jump to the conclusion that, it's some kind of fix-up with the Department of Labor or Statistics or whatever it is, without a real analysis of the report itself, I think it cheapens the response and the person giving that response.
Well, in the Wall Street Journal, they note that there's a lot of people who have left the so-called workforce and looking to work from home.
Yeah.
So it is a fact that really, if the number of people that were looking for work back when in 2009 were still looking for work, it would be much higher than 8. It would be over 9.
Yeah. But you see,
But yet Obama says my policies are working. I don't know.
Well, those changes in the way you count unemployment was not a change made during the Obama administration. They were actually made, I believe, in the George Bush, the first administration, in which he said, from now on, what we're going to do is eliminate from the count those people who have been unemployed for more than 2 years or whatever the number was. And so it was, I believe, under a Republican administration that the change in the count was made. At least it was not during the Obama administration to try to sort of fix up the numbers. And at that time, there was huge outcry about it was not being an accurate reflection. The unemployment rate was not an accurate reflection, but it only reflected those who are currently picking up unemployment compensation. So to that extent, the criticism is good, but it should not be a criticism directed towards the Obama administration for juggling the numbers, because those numbers were inappropriately juggled many years ago.
Well, how many ways can they determine what they count hires and what people who...
Essentially, I believe they are counting people who still remain on the unemployment list and those who have been taken off because of the jobs. I believe that's the way they count in unemployment rate.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not precise anyway. We know there are people hired who are... it's under the table, off the records.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the best kind. I mean, that's really the American way. That's all. No, really. So, if the founders of the USA, they found, hey, you're supposed to get one number, right? You're supposed to pay that. Hey, revolution time, brother. Let's polish our rifles.
What was the Tea Party all about? Avoidance of tax payments. You remember when they threw the Boston Tea? Yeah. Well, they didn't want to pay any tax on their tea and whatever.
So, I was going to go out and say that, before we get that, the thing about Obama that I don't like is, it's like he doesn't consider the whole picture when he says, and when he talks about the secretary who pays a higher rate than someone
Romney.
Who gets, But see, the thing is, and I guess Obama, he doesn't understand this because he never had to do this. The person who was responsible for creating a company that hired this secretary, they took risk, when they put the money in.
Yeah.
There was no guarantee that it would succeed and that they would recoup or even profit. The secretary, when she's hired, she first walks in. She says, okay, you're going to pay me this, okay? Then I got to, here's my duties and my hours. Or if I got to work beyond that, okay, how are we going to handle that? And all these things are set.
So what you're saying is that she doesn't...
It's a contract, so to speak.
She doesn't engage in a risk?
There's no risk, There's no risk.
Well, I think
if there is risk,
okay.
Legally, she is entitled to receive what was agreed upon when she was hired.
Yeah.
If they fail, she has recourse, right?
Not if they went bankrupt. Not if she suffers from a workers' compensation.
She has not absolutely recourse, but there is often recourse. Yeah.
Yeah, there are legal.
Here, you can take it to the labor department, right? And say, this guy even hire me, but he never pay me.
But
right?
what are you taxing? Are you taxing income, or are you taxing a person's risk? Because what you are doing is you are shifting it.
The risk, you tax them at a lower rate, thereby encouraging them to take risk. If you're going to tax them at the same rate as the people who take no risk, then they're going to, they're going to look
so
for...
what you are saying then is all businesses should be in a separate category as individual employees. And that is where the dividing line should be. And then do you then divide between risky business as opposed to non-risky business, and how do you engage that determination? So what you are proposing is something completely different than the individual tax brackets. And if this is an individual income tax, then it is based on that, and they have certain exemptions for individual exemptions for for medical costs and etc. And they also have exemptions for business costs. But now you are turning it into something else, a risk exemption or a risk category, which has never been seriously proposed except with the writer of this article in the Star Advertiser. What's his name? Sewell? Who claims that risk is supposed to be a factor, although it's not in the code, in the Internal Revenue Code. But he wants to now kick in risk.
Not explicitly, but undoubtedly, this is a concept that has led to the allowance for the lower rate.
No, I don't think that was the concept. The concept was that if you are being taxed once at the corporate level, and because it's your money investment, it's not your sweat and blood, then because it's capital gains, then you should be taxed at a lower level to try to encourage people to invest so that when they get capital gains, they will pay at a lesser amount. That was a concept for this different category of corporate tax as opposed to individual tax, or monies that came from investments as opposed to monies from the sweat and blood of an individual. I would suggest that it would be fair, or at least my perspective is, from a working man's position, what he gains as his salary through the work of his hands and his mind should be taxed probably at a lesser rate than someone who is already a multimillionaire grabbing his money and investing it in one or another area, and then using the argument of risk. And then what risk? They are investing in the Cayman Islands, or they are hiding their money in...
No. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
You read the article? It's like...
No, I saw the... I didn't read the whole article.
Oh, okay. See, the thing is, there is very real risk, Poca. You've been around the block more than me, and I'll still try to figure out how to spell my name, boy. You was like UH right there.
No, don't make me that old.
But, look, there was a time when McDonald's, you could buy in for $25,000.
Okay.
You see? But very few people would at the time.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And very few people would, because $25,000, what for McDonald's? What the hell is McDonald's, right?
Yeah, and very few people had $25,000. My father made $4,000 a year as a truck mechanic. We couldn't invest. That whole idea of investment was beyond our reach.
Right. But that's just one example. Perhaps there are others where one could have invested significantly less.
You know, I understand the small peanut investments, and I got no problems with allowing different tax rates so that the lower investors, the common people who are squirreling away $1,000 or $10,000 or $50,000, I got no problem with them making a profit and keeping them at a lower rate. But there are certain people who are making billions of dollars and multi-billions of dollars and not paying.
The U.S. Constitution, this is why it was written in a way so that the working man who has to earn by the sweat of his brow and so forth, the so-called Uncle Sam's supposed to leave him alone and tax the capital gains.
So you agree with me now that capital gains should be taxed?
I'm not saying I agree with you.
Okay, go ahead.
That's the U.S. That's how it's supposed to. That's the U.S. Constitution that Obama supposedly swore to uphold.
Well, there's some difference.
No capitation or the direct tax shall be laid.
Yeah, I agree. Well, what happened to the amendment? You see, if the Constitution was subsequently amended,
yeah, but here again,
and then now you're going to move to a different argument about not being ratified appropriately.
Yeah, but a tax without apportionment has to be excise, not direct. Because
was that what the amendment said?
No, the Supreme Court ruling. In fact, that's the wording of the amendment itself. The nature of the amendment is identified in the wording of the amendment itself.
We got 30 seconds. We got 30 seconds to go, and we're not going to resolve this. Okay.
If you really wanted to,
I gotta go. And
Kaulana pua o Hawaii Kupa ama hope o ka aina Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino Pala pala anunu me ka paka Mane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave Koku ana honoa o Pilani Ka ko o mai kaua I o mai